Hey, what's up, Josh? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Yeah, I would love to get a few questions out of the way first, and then
Okay.
from there, we can dive right in. Um,
Okay.
First things first, the ultimate goal was to get to, you had recorded that video on YouTube with Clay and 4.0 Mini. Um, I don't know if you recall our conversation, but it was to learn how to use Clay to basically generate leads and then import those into Instantly. All of this is completely new to me. So that's the ultimate goal. Um, that being said, in our message convo, you had said, um, what did you say? You said I needed a Clay, the 350 a month plan, which I have, and then I just got that through your link, and then the open API key. Um, so I'm assuming with the 4.0 mini, I went on to chat, and it looks like I have to contact a sales team and that there's different versions I can get. Is there any
So
specifics you can give me on that?
yeah, so when you say you went on to chat and taught who you're referring to, like what sales team and who?
OpenAI. I have an account with that, it's just the regular OpenAI chat GPT version.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have the OpenAI, so when I looked to get that, I was prompted to contact a sales team.
Okay. So let me share my screen. Or do you want to show me where you went in to get it? Because you should just be able to sign up for it without contacting sales or anything like that. Um,
Okay.
so maybe we can start there, or I can just show you kind of um, where you can go as well.
Yeah. Let's see here.
And Jason, by the way, Jacob, who is our head of operations, he's just on the call with me, so we can
Hey,
work together
Jason.
and help
Nice
more
to meet you.
people.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Um, okay, yeah. Let me get this thing shared.
Have you started doing any of the like building or working, Clay, Jason, or do we want to do that today? So you leave with kind of a working table.
To leave with a working table would be incredible.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you see my screen
Well,
now?
I can't. No,
You can't. Okay. Let me try sharing again. Okay. Are you seeing it now?
I'm not, unfortunately.
Oh, Lord, come on. I
But
just had to enable settings, which I just did. Um,
yeah, we're just seeing the black Zoom screen. But you know what? If you
there
do
you
this,
go.
I'm gonna.
You should
There
get
you
it
go.
now. Okay.
Okay. So can you see the chat window?
Yeah.
If you click that link that I put in there, that's going to take you to where you need to go to sign up. So it's
For
in
the
this should be the chat window of the Zoom.
yep. For the OpenAI.
Yeah, it's going to take you to the place where you sign up for the API key.
Okay.
So if you this is the where you would get your API key. And
Okay.
if you want to, you just want to, you already have an OpenAI account because you use it for ChatGPT. So if you just want to log in with that account, where it says the login button in the upper hand corner,
Yep.
and whatever you normally use to sign into ChatGPT.
Okay.
And then let me tell you where to get the API key. Uh, so the button that says, let me log in myself, and then I can
Hmm.
tell you. See where it says dashboard, Jason? Upper
Yes.
right, so click that.
Mm-hmm.
See where it says API keys on the bottom left? Or yeah,
Yes.
right there. And then you're gonna go to create new secret key,
Okay.
and then you name it, you just call it whatever. Like I have 20, so just kind of whatever you want to name it so that you can
Laura.
remember,
Okay.
and hit create secret key. And let's leave that up. Just don't close that window because we're going to
Okay.
need that, and we're going to need that key. But so that's all you have to do. Right
Okay.
now,
Very good.
let me explain how this works. And we're recording this, so if you ever need to do this again, you'll be able to come back and do it.
Perfect.
But um, here's how OpenAI works, and this is very true with all of the API keys. They put you in levels, right? So right now
Mm-hmm.
you're in level one. You don't want to close out the screen because, or if you do for whatever reason, just copy that API key and put it on a doc somewhere because we're going to need it in a minute when we build the clay table.
Mm-hmm.
But um, you'll never be able to get to this API key again. So if you ever need to create you just if you lose it or something, you just create a new one, right?
Okay.
Think of it as just like a pass through to know that whatever you did in clay gets charged to your API.
Okay.
Um, Now, the reason why I had you sign up and told you to sign up for the 350 account is because you have to use clay credits if you don't use API keys directly,
Okay.
and they're just much more expensive, right? Like
Yep.
what we're going to do in clay would cost you on the plan you're on 3.5 cents per credit,
Mm.
and we're going to do it for 0.3 of a cent. So literally 10 times cheaper, right?
That
So
is
that's why you
okay.
use your API key. The problem or the limitation is it's going to take you a while to be able to run a lot of stuff at the same time on your own API key
Mm-hmm.
because OpenAI is going to do what they call rate limit you,
Okay.
which means they're going to let you do like 50 or 100 every minute. You're going to get to the point the more you use your API key based off your spend, if you use it frequently enough to do what I'm going to teach you to do,
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to go to level 5 and then you'll never be rate right?
Mm.
But I have to spend about 2K a month to get to level 5, right? So it's not going to happen instantaneously.
Okay.
When we build this table today, we're going to use one more tool called OpenRouter, which is going to give you the ability via API to call this same model, but not be rate limited, right? So
Okay.
we're going to build this table with both options. They both, well, shit, actually, we will, but we won't because ClayGent doesn't work with OpenRouter.
Okay.
So, but I want you to understand the concept because the OpenRouter gives you the access to every model, not just GPTs,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it's not rate limited. You just pay for your credits in advance. So, like, you go in and buy $5 at a time, and
Gotcha.
then you can
Okay.
run as many as you want. So, I'll still build it in the table because, like, through our conversation, you're wanting to use GPT Mini to do the same research and take that same approach that I did in that video.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one thing you can do, right? You can also write copy. There's all kinds of things you can do with these models. So I don't want you to be limited to just that function as long as you understand how to do it in
Yeah,
That makes
that
sense.
sounds good. Yep. Yep.
All right. So I'm going to take over the screen, but just save that uh, bookmark that I sent you because you'll go back to it many times in the future if you start doing this all the time.
Yeah. And before you take over, let me throw some quick things out at you just so I can get this stuff completed.
Sure.
I assume once I generate the list in Clay, I'm gonna want to clean it through like a million verifier.
So I would, there's two processes of this, right? You're still going
Okay.
to have to pull email. You're still going to have to pull emails, right? At least through what you talked about in the conversation and that I remember, like that is the research component of it. To pull emails, you're going to have to pull emails from somewhere, like Apollo. what are you using now to pull email?
Absolutely nothing. Yeah, so I was going to get leads from Apollo, and I think the broker got back to me and just basically saying that he couldn't. There's about less than 1,000 leads in the space I
Okay.
was looking to do.
All right. Then we'll just include that today. Like I can show you how to do that through a couple options because you're on the 350 clay plan, like there's a lot of ways to do it, but we'll give you that option. So we'll just add that to the table we build. I wouldn't use Million Verifier. That is your email checker. I
mhm.
would use ICPs first. So it's ICYPEAS.com. And the second one I would use is called LeadMagic, LeadMagick.com. Same thing that you're doing with OpenAI, you're going to have to get the API keys for them.
Okay, so to
And
clean the
look,
list, you're using these two.
yes.
Okay.
So just so you know, right? Like you you let me be 100% transparent. You can pull emails using ClayGen if you want to. The vast majority of them are going to be wrong and inaccurate because people just don't put their real email on their website.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yep.
They put info@contentmarketingmedia.org.
Hmm.
Jacob and I's actual email is not on our website, right?
Right.
So you get emails from aggregated data sources like Apollo, like
Okay.
LinkedIn, like what ICP does is that they run through all kinds of different processes using AI and make educated guesses that most people's emails is first name dot last name, first letter dot last name. And they run through all of those processes until they can validate it. And
Mm.
validation is a whole nother process where basically like you have backend servers and you send and make sure it doesn't bounce, etc. But the whole goal is you got to get to about a 2% or less bounce rate. And because if you don't, then when you start sending emails and instantly, then your domains are gonna hit spam and then they're dead, right?
Right.
So um, I've been through all of them. There's one that I like better than ICPs and LeadMagic. It's called Prospeo, but it's also much more expensive, which is why I didn't tell you about it. But you're welcome to use that one as well. ICPs, you can literally pull 100,000 emails a month for $250, and they have lower plans than that as well. But that's the number one reason I use it because it's just it's very accurate. Number one, and number two, that it's exponentially cheap. Lead Magic would be the second one on that scale, and then Prospeo would be like seventh because it's very expensive, but it's also
Okay.
highly accurate. In Clay, there's like seven other different options you could use, but I'm giving you the ones that I use, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess the first thing I should make sure I'm clear on, kind of going back to the messenger is, is there any other softwares I'm gonna need? Yeah, I mean, I've instantly, obviously, I've got Clay right now. You're talking about ICPs. Is there anything else I need to make this cold outreach work? If I'm going to be doing it similar to you, it's cost effective because I'm not only just trying to estimate cost wise here, but also just know what I'm in for and what my turnaround time's going to be.
Yeah, so and look, I'll tell you this, like we're already 15 minutes in this call and we haven't started the table. If we don't finish this today and we don't build the table, then we'll just book another call. I'm not going to charge you again. Okay, I'd rather you learn how to do this right. But I'm going to tell you straight up, Jason, you're not going to be
Hmm.
able to do what I do in two calls.
Yeah, I
Like,
believe that. I believe that.
you know what I mean? Like you
And I don't
probably have seen
expect to
enough
do
of my
your level. Yeah.
I mean, this is not all about tools, Jason. This is about finding the right leads, sending them
Yes.
good emails, and like you're smart enough to know that like you can see that the way we do it works. And I'm going to give you like what I can in these sessions, right?
Yep.
But the reason I'm giving you that disclaimer is you're never going to have all you need. I don't have all that I need. And I
Yeah,
spend
100%.
10K a month doing this, right? I mean,
Hmm.
but these are the things I would tell you. Like, if you follow, I don't even, I mean, I make a lot of videos, but I remember the one on GPT-4 Mini, right? And the
Hmm.
reason why I taught, to be fair, I simplify those down to 10 minutes, right? They're all 10
Sure,
minutes or less because I can't post
sure.
them on LinkedIn if they're not. But the a lot of this is going to come down to like, and this is what I want to understand before we continue, just so I can cater my message appropriately, is that like, have you done this via instantly? Have you already sent emails, et cetera, or this is truly your first time even sending emails?
This is my first time doing cold outreach through Instantly. Right now I've got my domains, all the stuff set up. They've went through, I think, maybe 16 days of warming. Years ago, I built a business through a cold email list. So I'm
Okay.
familiar with copy and offers and,
Okay,
building,
good.
growing, scaling, selling a business. But this specific function is 100% new.
Okay, cool. Okay. So that helps because the good and the bad of this is you can be absolutely fantastic at this, but if you don't know how to send cold emails, then it's just a lot of great lead generation, right? So
Sure. Yep. Yep.
let's get a table up so we
Okay.
can answer it. So no, before we do that, what other softwares do I need besides Clay to run cold emails successfully? The answer is that all depends on what your niche is, right?
Mm,
Like these are the fundamental you need to run campaigns like I do, which
mm-hmm.
is you need to be able to get an email.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to do detailed research on a lead so that you have relevancy in your outbound email.
Yep.
And then you need the tools that make that happen, which are instantly in Clay. Like that's really it. I mean, you can do this and do this well with the the GPT that we talked about, with
Okay.
Clay, with ICPs and/or because will give you your emails and make sure that they're validated, and the other ones do your research and get your copy, right?
Yep.
Beyond
Yep.
that, it depends on what you're selling to. Like if you're trying to sell something very technical or SaaS wise or whatever, then you can use what we're talking about today and get some leads, but relevance and intent data and all of that data, which sometimes you have to buy, then
Sure.
that depends on who the target is and what you're selling, right?
Yeah. And just to that point, just for reference, my initial target right now is going to be home services industry, HVAC and uh, home improvement along the lines of bath and shower, even roofing, things of that nature.
And what are you selling?
It's going to be lead generation for those services
Okay.
for those businesses.
Okay. So, and how are you doing lead generation for those businesses?
Media buying, Facebook ads.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you some caveats, right? Because I do lead generation for some businesses that sell services to those exact industries.
Okay.
It's very saturated. So just so you know, number one, it's very saturated. It's also like, are we talking HVAC, roofing, plumbing, that type of home services?
HVAC, roofing, yes, and then also like a bath shower remodel.
Okay. Um, have you ever done this for them before?
Yeah, we've got clients right now that we recently started with, and then looking to expand more with those guys. I mean, up to this point,
Okay.
we've run ads for ecom and some digital companies, but we're looking to get a little bit more into the home services. But yeah, I'm all ears. I mean, if you've been down that road into a greater volume and can offer insight and such, you know, Um, I'll be a sponge.
Well, I would say as much as you cannot pigeonhole yourself into those niches, the greater you can expand, the better.
Hmm.
Just because, all kinds of people will tell you specialization matters. But when
Hmm.
you're doing lead gen, it's not about, well, so let's take, you're going to be running ads, so that's good. But I mean, it's like you do this for a living. Obviously, you have customers that you run ads for. How much does the fact that you know about plumbing or roofing actually contribute to how well you run the ad?
Not a ton.
So, what is that trade-off worth to limiting your niche? That's just what I would think about, right? Like
Hmm.
every marketing person in the world will tell you niche down, you become an expert, you're going to get more clients. In cold email, you're dramatically limiting the amount of people that you can reach out to, which may not matter if you're
Mm.
selling a cybersecurity solution to companies who need cybersecurity. But in home services, here lies the issue in home services. I like Jacob and I were just talking about this earlier.
Okay.
I call them the GBP customers, right?
Okay.
So what that means is that half of them, just so you know, if you haven't experienced this already, they have personal email addresses,
Hmm.
right? So they have Gmail addresses, right? They don't have like there's some of them are decent sized businesses. Don't misunderstand me. There's plenty of decent sized roofing companies and HVAC, but a lot of them are not. They're a few people, one or two, four or five businesses. So when they set up their business, they go into Google, they everybody knows you got to have a Google business profile because local search and all that really matters in those businesses, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so they set it up by Gmail. So here's the problem in cold email. Google doesn't know the difference that they're a plumber with a business with a Gmail and just uh, a personal person that has a Gmail.
Mm.
And you can't do cold outreach to people. Like you can, but Google's just not going to let it happen. Like I don't. Do you have a Gmail address, Jason?
I do. Yeah.
When's the last time you got a true cold email on your personal Gmail address?
And my personal, but I don't check that often a couple weeks ago.
I mean, it
But it's
does
rare.
happen.
It's rare.
It's
Yeah.
very, very, very rare. Like
Yeah.
and I have personal Gmail, I have business Gmail, I have tons of business Gmail. Gets cold email all day long. I mean, it gets a lot more in spam than in my inbox because people are
Sure.
bad at it. But the ones that are good that hit my inbox, almost never do I get one of my personal. It and usually, if I were to actually study it, it was probably something I subscribed to like 3 years ago, and I forgot to unsubscribe.
Mm.
And in February, Google put out a lot of rules and made it very, very clear that they're not going to tolerate cold email when it comes to personal.
Mm.
They're going to protect their consumers. So that is one challenge you're going to face from the get go is that in these businesses, in my estimation, 50% of them are using personal Gmail, Yahoo, etc. And they are 10 times stricter and harder if you try to hit those emails with cold email.
Okay.
So that's one thing. So I would tell you like that goes to the more you can expand your niche and why it's relevant that you don't if you're going to do lead generation, you don't have to be niche specific.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, um, they're just highly saturated. So here's the problem. Like any guy on Fiverr or whatever, all these sites, they're charging like three, four, $500 to hit these guys with cold emails because the data is cheap. Like you can go into trying to think of the name of this tool. I just saw it the other day. Um, Outscraper,
Okay.
and for a dollar, pull 1,000 leads from Google Business Profile.
Wow.
Your guy on Apollo, how much did he charge you?
He was gonna do 10,000 leads for $100, but he ended up
Okay.
refunding because he couldn't find enough leads.
Yeah. So I'm just being straight with you because I want you to be successful. The fact that Apollo allows people to resell their product at 10,000 leads for $100, do you understand the level of saturation that creates around
Oh,
those
100%.
leads?
I
Yeah,
assumed as much going in for sure.
yeah. So the reason why I'm telling you all this, number one, is that like home services, what I call the GPP businesses, they on average probably hit with 100 cold emails a day.
Man.
So automatically now the road you are going down is going to put you in that 1% of the ones they will read. But I'm just telling you that the two things that they actually hate the most, number one is SEO, because
Hmm.
most of them don't give a shit what their website looks like, because that's
Right.
not how they make their money.
Yeah.
And number two is ads, right? I'm just telling you, like, it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you. I'm just telling you, Jacob and I run, this is not the only part of the business we do. And I can just tell you, because I run a content marketing company as well, that's
Hmm.
heavily driven towards generating visibility on Google, that I'm not saying you can't close customers. I've closed restaurants and, what I call the GVP businesses. I'm just telling you that, like, if you are going to do this and you have any chance to do it outside of just that niche, then you're just going to open yourself up to more success and less saturation, right? So
That's
there's my
interesting.
smoke.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I mean, we were going to be looking at chiropractors too, but I figured that was a heck of a lot more saturated. So we were going to start here. But it's good to hear.
Anything that's less GVP driven, because, and I keep calling it GVP because that's where they're getting the data. They're going to these scrapers and outsources because I have a GVP too, right? Everybody needs to get reviews and they want to slap it on their website with Trustpilot and all that stuff. But for these local businesses, it's local search that drives their business. And that's why they have the Google guaranteed service program where you can basically pay Google 5 grand a month and appear first every time on Google,
Yeah.
because that's how relevant that is. One of my buddies is a CFO of the largest garage door company repair in the US, and he pays $75,000 a month and has all these addresses set up that aren't real just so he can be a part of that service program for Google,
Mm.
just so because they know how much it drives their business. It's like my garage door's broke, my HV's broke. I just had roofing damage from a hailstorm in Texas. Let's go to Google. Who's the roofing?
Right.
That drives. I mean, and roofing's a little different. There's solicitation and stuff, but that drives most of their business. And so you want to find businesses that, as much as you can, aren't in that mantra, because they're not going to be targeted near as much, right?
Okay. Good to know.
All right. Well, now, like I said, we can have another call if
Yep.
we don't get as far as we need to, but
Sure.
keep going, because I think these questions, like, I can teach you in an hour how to build a table, but these, I would tell you, like, these questions seem like they're probably even more impactful to you than building the table. So,
Okay. And you're talking for GPP, you're talking about the global privacy platform,
no, I'm talking about Google business profiles.
Google
So
business
just
profile. Okay. I got you.
so
Yep.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
got
I
to
know what you're
remember,
talking about.
Jason,
Yep.
if you go to your phone, which is where 80% of searches come from nowadays,
Yep.
and you type in HVAC roofing, you're always going to see Google business profiles. You're going to
Yeah.
see the three closest businesses, depending on where you're at, what their ratings are. Everybody's after those spots, but it's also the cheapest data to get. And they're just, you don't have to have a Clay account to get it, which is why they're getting hammered for, with cold email.
Okay. Yeah, I figured you were referring to the the Google business profile, but I could have swore you said GPP. But yeah, I'm very familiar with
Maybe,
what that
maybe
is.
I did.
I mean, I could not be hearing you, but either way, that makes sense, and that's good to know. So no, that's perfect. And then do you use spin tax in the emails or
I
no?
don't, because
Oh,
I write all my emails with AI, so they're all 100% unique. So I don't need spin text.
Okay. Good to know. Um, and that's all other stuff we probably don't even have to get into. Okay, cool. Yeah. I think that's fine for now. So however you want to proceed with regards to doing the clay stuff and this API.
Okay, so let's roll. We're just gonna build it from scratch. Okay.
Hmm.
So you have the 350 Clay account, which is
Hmm.
really, really nice. And there's a couple things I want you to understand is like this actions button right here
Hmm.
gives you the ability to import data, right? So in Clay, you can start from like a blank table, or you can go create table and then you get all these choices, right? So one of
Hmm.
these choices is pull data from Google Maps, right? The
Hmm.
GBPs we were talking about, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm going to use that as where we start, just, so you have that already built into your table.
Okay.
And so hmm, that's weird. Of course, the day I go to use it, it has an error. Crazy. It's okay. I don't need it, but I'm just trying to see if I can overcome it. Let's see. Sometimes if you refresh, it fixes the problem. All right. So this is pretty straightforward, but essentially you want to turn this button off. Otherwise, you're going to get charged 1 clay credit every time you do this. If
Okay.
you turn this button off, you can run up to 200 at a time, and you're not going to get charged a clay credit. So it's free. If you want to run more than 200 at a time, that's when you would turn this on. But the drawback is, you're going to pay 1 clay credit per row, right? So I
Okay.
leave this off. Let's just type like we were if we were on Google. Let's type New York. This is directly from the Google Maps API. So it works like you're doing a search, right? So New
Hmm.
York City, and then we will say lawyers. Well, let's just say HVAC since that's one of the ones you mentioned. And then I always pull the max I can pull, which is 200. Okay.
Hmm.
And that's it. So we're going to hit continue. We want to add it to a new blank table, and it's going to create the table. It's doing a proximity search by latitude and longitude, and it's pulling in these rows, right? So what's really cool about this is you're going to get the data from their GBP, like the company name,
Hmm.
their maps URL, their website, and there's even embedded data in here that you might not have showing. I think it looks like it's all pretty much pulling. Uh, but if there's data tables in here you want, you could just like, I want to add that they're a service establishment, and it's going to put that column in here as well,
Hmm.
right? So that's kind of the power of Clay. It's like, yes, I could do all this via API, but they just built me an interface that made it pretty simple, and I can do 200 at a time. And if I just want to run more, I come to this little plus button and add more search queries, and it'll just add to this table.
Hmm.
Again, turn this off. I can fill a whole table up to 50,000 rows. So it's a little bit repetitive, right? But that quickly, it looks like I pulled 140. I might have pulled 58 companies in what, like 30 seconds, if that.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. The same concept, and why I encourage you to be on the 350 table
Hmm.
is you could actually pull in data from other sources. Like if you had a CSV, you can pull companies on LinkedIn. The LinkedIn one is a little bit better, only because you can pull up to 25,000 at a time through
Okay.
LinkedIn. So definitely gives you, and this is all depending on your plan, but the plan you're on, the 349 one, you can pull 25,000. So again, gives you a lot more capability. And like, just for the heck of it, let's say, I don't know all the LinkedIn job descriptions, but like they're different. Yeah, there it
Hmm.
is. So that's actually manufacturing. But what I could do is just type a keyword HVAC, and just for the heck of it, let's just see how many people in the United States. So there's 13,596. So I could drop all of these into a table and and add that to this table if I wanted to.
Hmm.
Now it does get a little bit messy if you have two different data sources because you have two different columns,
Sure.
but that is part of the reason why you want to be on the 350 plan. That's not the main reason, but it's just it gives you these capabilities to start off with a lot of information that you would otherwise have to pay Apollo for, right?
Hmm.
All right. So now every workflow that I've ever built, you have to have a website, right? That's where we do the research for that you saw in that video.
Yeah.
So I'm going to exclude the ones that don't have a website because believe it or not all HVAC companies have a website. So I'm just going to say website, and I'm going to say is not empty, and that's going to give me all the. That's going to basically leave me with 90 companies out of
Okay.
158. So this is my starting point. I know that I have a website. I know their business names, obviously. I have some other data, like if I wanted to in the copy, I could say something about their average rating,
Hmm.
or how many Google reviews they have, or their opening hours. This is all data you could feed into the to your copy if you wanted to,
Hmm.
right? So that's what I think of all of these columns as data points.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about the first thing. So I build my tables to not spend money unless I have to spend money, right?
Hmm.
So as you can see, like I have 0 clay credits right now, and it's because I don't care. I don't use them. But I start off with 10,000 every month. I use them right away to save myself a little bit of money on the API call, and then I function the rest of the month without them. And as many clients as we have and tables that we're running for different clients, like I run it all with no clay credit. So that's why that 350 a month plan is so important
Hmm.
because we just use API calls for everything. And
Okay.
that's just because it's so much cheaper to use API calls. But you're going to get 10,000 credits on that 350 a month plan. So just remember, anytime you're pulling data or whatever, and you see the opportunity to use the credit, you still have that choice because you're going to get 10,000 no matter what with that 350 plan.
Okay.
Now, what do we need to do? Like, and back to the money discussion, right? If we can't find an owner of this business, Jason, then we don't need to look for their email. Like, we need a name to find an email. So
Right.
the first thing we're going to do is find a name. Then we're going to find an email. And only after we find a name and an email will we do anything else, because
Perfect. Yeah.
without an email or without a name, then who cares how good the copy is? We're just sending it to nobody.
Right.
So this is the first kind of hour of GPT, and we're going to use Claygen. Uh, and we're just going to come in, and there it is. Now you're going to need, I'm going to leave my API. I don't know if it'll transfer over when I share the template, but you're going to see it look like this.
Hmm.
What you're going to want to do is pick mini like I have here.
Hmm.
And then here where it says select OpenAI account, you're going to plug in your own API key and hit add account. And
Mm.
that's how it's going to run using your API.
Okay.
If you are not on the 350 a month plan, this is not even an option for you. You're going to pay
Mm.
1 clay credit per run, which is why that, again, is so important.
Okay.
Um, so every time you go to run an enrichment, that's what these are called.
Hmm.
For every vendor you ever use, you'll get the choice to pay a clay credit or 2 or 3, or use your own API key. Anyone that you see value in, you go out and get the API key because it's always going to be cheaper than a clay credit.
Okay.
Most of them will not rate limit you. The large language models like OpenAI, Anthropic, and the other ones will. And they do that, just so you know, is they don't want people building products off their tool that they can't guarantee they're going to get paid for,
Mm.
right? So it's not like you run 1,000 of these and OpenAI charges your credit card for every single one every single time. Like they do it in batches, right? So that's why they rate limit people, because they want to build up a payment history with you to know that they're going to get paid if they let you use 10,000 at a time
Sure.
before they let you run 10,000 at a time. So that's just so you know why they do it.
Okay.
Um, but here's the thing: this is all about prompting, and
Hmm.
it's trial and error. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to view the website, And it even gives you like an example here, right? Like in the little thing. But
Sure.
we're gonna say review, and then this front slash will give you your columns. We're gonna say website, and then if I'm telling it, look at it first.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I'm gonna add in here is review the website and say the company name is, and then I'm gonna dynamically tell it what the company name is, which is, I don't have a column. Oh, there it is, name. So see, it knows now, this is the website and the prompt, this is the company name.
Yeah.
And so again, this is all trial and error. Like this is pretty good, just
Mm-hmm.
doing it basically like this, but you could prompt it differently. You can just see I type that out while we're on the call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to run 10 rows and see what happens. On average, it's going to take about 30 or 40 seconds per row.
Hmm.
And when it comes back, the nice thing is about Claygen, and this is why I teach this. Number one, it's going to be moderate. It's going to be pretty damn cheap. Number two, it's going to tell us what it did and why it did it. And we're going to be able to know how accurate it is, right? Because we
Hmm.
can easily check it. So you can see right before us, we're 50-50, right? No data, no data. And then the owner, the owner, the owner. Now we're going to fix this prompt in a second so that it only
Okay.
outputs the name. Sometimes if you just refresh, it'll happen quicker. Um, and it looks like we're going to get about 80% on this one, which is
Okay.
actually really good. So now let's cut to the chase. This cost 0.2 of a cent to find this owner, right?
Hmm.
Maybe we'll have to. We're going to edit the prompt real quick because I did not
Okay.
tell it to output only the owner's name. So
Hmm.
output. Think of GPT like a child. You got to talk to it like a child. Now it's also very sensitive, right? So if I change this up and instead of determine the owner, I said determine the best contact, I'm going to get more results,
Sure.
right? So that's another thing to think about, right? Is that when you change the prompting to it, you're just changing its brain to look for different stuff, right? So I'm rerunning them real quick just to see because I wanted it to output. I forgot to tell it like only the first and last name. So
Hmm.
there you go. There's George, and this must be the same business. Or just sometimes it does things randomly, but it'll be right when we refresh it. But you see how it's now giving us names. So
Yeah.
the cool thing is it's
Wow.
going to tell you why it thinks George Gogus is linked to the age and it's the owner. So it tells you like the link to his LinkedIn profile supports this conclusion, right? And here's his LinkedIn profile. And then you can even go in further and it's citing all these different websites that it's used to determine that he is the owner. And in this case, it did it for, I don't even know, that like so ridiculously low. It's not even 1/10 of 1 cent. It's like 7/10 of 1/10 of 1 cent. That's the cost.
Yes.
So why would you pay? Like this is like reselling Apollo type data cost, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, what you live with is the fact that through each one of these steps, you're going to lose leads. Like you started with 158, you're down to 90. Maybe you might get 50, 60% of these, but the ones you end up getting at the end of the day, it's the same thing that's happening in Apollo or any other system. You're just not seeing it because in those systems, you type something in and you get the result. They don't show you all this shit behind the scenes that
Right.
excludes the data, right?
Hmm.
So I literally have, I'm not joking, Jason, like Apollo tried to get me to build this for them uh, and help them with all their AI and stuff. And I just don't trust them. And so
Mm.
that's why I wouldn't do it. But like even when we were talking about this for them, like they're not this good. They're buying aggregated data and putting it in a database, and that's why their emails suck. And charging a lot of corporate people a lot of money for it. But they're not even this technical. Like I didn't make this up, so I'm not taking credit for it. I'm just saying that like they're not using AI. The nice thing about this is when you dive into it, Jason, it sources its data. So it's like you can know really quickly. And I just run searches on myself when I build prompts to know how
Sure.
accurate it is. But every one of these, like here, it went to their Facebook page, it cooperated with their Better Business profile, and then there's even more in-depth research on why it determines what it is, and its confidence. It gives you a confidence level,
Oh, okay.
and if it's low, it will say no data found. So like if I look at these, um, like here's the other thing: it's super conservative. So you can change the prompting up and get it to not be code conservative because it's finding a lot of good information. Like it's
Wow.
probably just not 100% sure, so it doesn't want to tell you. It's super
Sure.
conservative. So you can prompt it to like tell it like if you're moderately sure, go ahead and give me the output, and it'll give you a lot of these. But it leans on the side of being conservative. So you can be very, very
Huh.
confident that if it gives you like one, two out of these 10, it gives one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 70% match rate, that it's the name is accurate and they are the owner. And there's multiple sources to prove it.
So to
All right,
your point,
go ahead.
like with Apollo and these other softwares, the reason you have to use million verifiers and clean the list is because a lot of the data is just not good. Whereas with this, if you're getting the output of the owner and the name, you know with pretty high certainty that essentially it's already been cleaned. You know it's verified.
So we know that it's the right person.
Yes. Okay.
We have to do the email verification, and the email verification is actually not email verification, it's email finding and verification,
Okay.
right?
Gotcha.
So that's the second level. But if we get to the end of this with a valid email,
Mm-hmm.
then I can tell you with over sending a million emails using these types of processes that
Mm-hmm.
more than 98.5% of them are not going to bounce.
Wow.
And as long as you, from an instantly or outbound cold email perspective, stay above below 2%, you're going to be fine.
Hmm.
Like
Okay.
that's a normal acceptable bounce rate. So yeah, I mean the nice thing is all of this is built with checks and balances, and so it's like okay, we know this is a real business. Now we've used this real business's information, which came from Google, to find the owner. We've
Okay.
used defined processes with source data to make sure this is the owner. Kind of interesting that George actually owns both of these. That's kind of
Hmm.
cool. So now let's get some email verifications in there. So we're
Okay.
going to use the ones I told you, ICPs first. And again, same thing on Clay. You can use the Clay, or I'm going to use my own API key. And then all we need is their name. So we need to kind of prep this a little bit and just we have it, business owner, right? So if we didn't, we'd want to make sure all these email injectors, they require like the full name, which is really weird versus first name and last name. So just keep that in mind. Like if you pull in LinkedIn data, you can get first name, last name. You need to combine them with a formula into one column. But in this case, we're good because that's how our prompt did it. Did that make sense? I know I said that fast, but
Yeah.
okay. So we're going to use ICPs first. We know their full name, which is the output of that column, which is kind of cool that I got it by telling GPT to do it, right? Output it
Mm-hmm.
as first name last.
Mm-hmm.
And then we already have their website, which is company domain. And so we're going to just run these first 10. Keep in mind, we always, if given the option, do not want to include catch-all.
Okay.
You know what a catch-all is?
I do not.
It's an email that companies set up, like info@hvac.com, etc.,
Gotcha. Okay.
to catch marketing
Yeah.
people like us.
Yeah. Oh,
So this
wow.
is going to run pretty quickly, right?
Hmm.
What's nice is when you can run a table like this of 10,000 leads in like 30 minutes,
That's
and it'll do
wild.
all of it. So while that's running, we're going to add the next one. The next one, Magic, LeadMagic is a little bit more expensive. That's always why it's the second one. It's only there to find it if ICPs did find it.
Okay.
So we're going to set this table up so that it doesn't even run unless the first one returns. Let me just keep typing. LeadMagic has a couple different options, but we want the find work email one. And then again, we need their full name. I think that's the right column. Business owner response. Yeah. And then we need the domain, which is here. So same columns. ICPs doesn't, I mean, LeadMagic does not give you the option to filter out catch-alls, but it does tell you if it's a catch-all or not. So in a
Okay.
second, I'll show you how that works. And then that's going to come from the status column and then come from the email column. I'm not going to run it because I only want it to run, and it only found one email. So
Hmm.
now part of it is I shouldn't have even run it on these no data founds, right?
Sure. Right. Right.
So we had a good capture rate, 70%. So far we only found one out of those seven. Now we may or may not find more on this. We'll see. But just remember, we're building this table, so you're only getting charged when you find something. So it cost us nothing, not one penny so far, other than, well, I shouldn't say not. It literally didn't cost us one penny, but it cost us 7/1000th of a penny to get their name. So
Right.
we could do that. We could do that. I don't know, 1,000 more times
Right.
before we spend $1. Um, but it cost
That's
us
a hundred
nothing.
thousandths of a penny, brother.
Thank you for clarifying that. I suck at that like decimal conversion thousand thing, but yeah, we could spend it. We could do it a whole lot before we spend $1. Is my point. And that, yes, that's real money, but it's so small, it's almost negligible.
Sure.
The important thing is you're not paying ICPs or LeadMagic unless they find it. So
Okay.
it's a good thing to know that it's not in vain.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
if we don't find an email for these other nine, we're not going to find them for these three that we didn't find an owner because we don't even have an owner's name.
Right.
But for these other six, if we don't find an email, all we spent was that 7/100,000th of a penny or whatever Jacob said. So
Okay.
now here's a trick. And as you start to automate tables, you're going to want to know this. We only want this to run if we didn't get a result here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow me?
Yep.
So I need to export, I need to have this column as its own. And you'll see why in a second. And just FYI, a little trick here, it tells you what kind of account it is. So it's
Mm.
Google. So if depending on what kind of account you're sending from and instantly, and you're sending from like a Microsoft account, then you want to check that box that says match providers. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but there is a box in instantly that allows you to, if you have Microsoft, to send to Microsoft, if you have Google to send to Google.
Okay.
All right, so let's add this real quick. And the reason why I needed that column is I only want this to run. And it's not that it costs me anything, but I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
run it and find an email for someone I already found the email for. So we're going to say use AI. Have you ever written any formulas yet in Clay?
No.
Have you ever used Excel?
Yeah.
You ever wrote a formula in Excel?
In Excel, yeah.
You'll never do that again. after you know how to do this. It's absolutely mind blowing. But
Huh.
we're telling the formula generator in Clay is AI formulas, and you basically just tell it what column to look at and tell it to write the formula. And it will save you a lot
Okay.
of money. Like a lot of things you can do formulas for. So in this case, we're going to say, and I'm going to show it to you. We're going to say, if this column, this is where the email output
Mm-hmm.
is we only want this to run if that column is, let me think about it, empty. So in other words, like it didn't return a result.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to hit generate formula, and it's going to give us a sample. Like, yes, the column will run on these, but it won't run on the third one because the third one has a value, right?
Okay.
It has an email. And
Yep.
that's it. We're going to put output is correct. We're going to save it, and then we're going to turn this auto update on. And so what will happen going forward, and you can turn these off too. You just come in and turn them off. But what would happen if I leave this on is that the next time you run this, for every email it doesn't find here, it's going to automatically run the next one, only on the ones where it didn't find it.
Mm.
But it's a killer as far as time saver because you don't have to go through and run all these columns manually. You set them to run based off the preceding action. And you only do that when it costs you money because who cares if it runs like a URL normalizer if it's free, right?
Right.
Okay. So we're going to run these 10 rows. And you see how it, because I put that in there, it said
Yep.
run condition not met.
Yep.
Oh, shit. You know what? I think I need to update my API key. I'm going to, yeah, I got to go in and update my API key. So it's not going to run. But here's what's going to happen it's going to create the same type of output if it
Mm-hmm.
finds an email, just so you know.
Sure.
So I'll leave this in here. I want to get one more thing done, and it's really the one thing that you brought up in the messages. So do you mind staying a few minutes longer?
Oh yeah. Sure.
Okay. So here's the thing. The next thing is for now we only have George, so
Mm-hmm.
at least we got one to work with. We want to now do the research because we have a name, we have a business in our niche, we have an email. We want to do the research and we want to do the copy. And so I'm going to drop both in there for you, and I don't have to write them because I have them saved. So it'll make it really quick. So we're going to go to ClayGent. I always type Clay. I should type ClayGent. Click here. We're going to do mini again, just like we did on the Find Business Owner. I have a template written already. And so
Hmm.
the nice thing is, if you don't know this, you can save these prompts as templates, and then you don't have to do it for every table you build. You just keep them saved. So
Okay.
I have a mini template here, and all I got to do is plug it in with my domain. So website. I don't have a LinkedIn profile here, so I'm just gonna plug it in with the bogus thing, and we'll remove it from the prompt.
Mm-hmm.
Where's my company name? Company name and full name, which is business owner response. If you do a better job than me naming your columns, then that'll even be easier.
Hmm.
I don't have LinkedIn in this table, so I'm gonna just pull this out. Otherwise, I do have websites, I do have names, do have it, and the prompt's already written for you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
even though I don't have LinkedIn, it's still, we're going to test it on George. And let's save it. And now let's run it on George. Probably another 30, 40 seconds. And then it should have an output. Now, same thing as we saw, Jason, with the business owner. If it's
Mm-hmm.
not confident, it's going to say no data found. I didn't do that here, but I like to do this in my tables too. I just like to add the confidence level so I can look at them, and you can tell every time it's low, it's not going to give you any data. So
Right. Right.
it's going to do the same thing here when you're running these. It's going to tell you how confident it is. It's going to cite its sources and everything else, right? This is what you saw me do in the video. Thank
Mm-hmm.
God for George, it did not come back low. So we got results, and you can see the type of detail we got on George's company.
Wow.
So now you know everything you saw in the video wasn't made up because I just did it right from pure scratch.
Yeah.
Um, but here's his business address. Here's his HVAC approximate revenue. It's telling us from this is just from the prompt, right? His 4.5 star reviews, 10 reviews. But more importantly, like here's where it got all that information, right? It pulled it from his LinkedIn, it pulled it from his website, it searched Google and got information, BuzzFile, whatever that is, all these New York HVAC service websites,
Wow.
Manta.com. So it did all that for 3/100ths of a penny.
Wow.
Three
That's unreal.
thousands.
Yeah, 3/1000ths of a penny. So here's what I'll do, Jason. I'm going to drop my
Yeah.
copy prompt in there for you too. And
Mm.
then you'll have a sample of this last step, how I turn it into copy. And then I will
Okay.
send you the table by the end of the day. And so you'll have this table to start with. I'll leave my API key in there. Just don't run like 100,000, but you can run, you can run a couple hundred or whatever till you get comfortable with it. I mean, was it going to cost me like 19 cents? So I'm not too worried about it. Um, but then I would suggest let's schedule a second call next week, and then you can have some time to play with it. And then you
Yeah.
can come back with like, I can't get this to work, or I wanted to do this, and you have something to start with.
Oh, that'd be amazing. That's perfect.
Well, let's do it. And
Awesome.
I'll send this to you by the end of the day, and then just go to town.
That sounds great. And then how should I set up a call for next week?
I'll send you my calendar link that doesn't have the paywall in it. It's just a
Uh,
1 hour call, but it's the one I use for my clients. So I'll just shoot it over to you, and that way you can just book directly through it.
that's awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate this. This is great.
You're welcome. We'll see you next week.
All right, you got it. Take care.